Hello everyone, welcome back to another Black Clover mobile video. My name is Equality and today I have another ultimate character guide for you. Today we're talking about Spirit Dive Yuno, but first of all, thank you everyone so much for all the views on the last character guide. It was really motivating to see and definitely gave me a drive. Without further ado, let's just get right into it. Spirit Dive Yuno is a green attacker and he is part of the Golden Dawn. He has about 2,799 attack, about 10,897 magic attack, about 3,758 defense, and 36,936 HP on level 100. With that, his stats are slightly worse than Valkyrie Noel's stats. And the gear that I would preferably put on him would be gold attack, gold speed, and gold defense. Because I didn't do that in the last video, in this one I would like to also give a quick overview of Spirit Dive Yuno. So Spirit Dive Yuno is a green attacker whose strong suit is his special skill, because his special skill deals a lot of damage and it gives him invulnerability, so you want to try and base your team off of that to give him his special points back as quick as possible so he can use his special skill as often as he can so he stays invincible and deals a lot of damage at the same time. How that works I will explain in a bit, but first let's go over the gear that I would pick for Spirit Dive Yuno. I would go for a gear setup like this. This is a more advanced setup for when you have quite a bit of gear already. So I would go with a 2-piece gold speed and a 2-piece gold attack set, and then the rest of the pieces I would all go for magic attack. So all of these pieces are magic attack, you have 2 big ones and the rest are all small pieces. And then for the substats I would go for magic attack, but actually more important crit rate and crit damage, and also crit resistance. Those are very important so that you deal a bunch more damage because his initial crit stats are already quite high. For his skills, his skill 1 is a single target attack that inflicts a 15% reduced mobility debuff on an enemy, and if Spirit Dive is present on self, it grants a 10% increased speed buff for 1 turn. His skill 2 is an AoE that inflicts a 50% reduced mobility debuff on an enemy, and if Spirit Dive is present on self, it inflicts silence on a designated enemy for 1 turn. How do we get Spirit Dive? The Spirit Dive we get through the special skill. So for his special skill, it is a single target attack and it grants himself Spirit Dive for 2 turns. So after you use his special skill and then you use either skill 1 or skill 2, those will have an extra effect. So for skill 1, if he has Spirit Dive, he will get a 10% increased speed buff, and for skill 2, if he has Spirit Dive, it will inflict silence on a designated enemy. And also for his ult, his special skill, it inflicts total silence on an enemy for 2 turns, and it grants himself a 20% increased speed buff for 1 turn. Then his partner skill is a single target attack that attacks after removing immortality from an enemy. His passives. His LR passive, at the start of a turn, it grants himself the Blessing of the Wind Spirit, and if total silence debuff is applied to you, it automatically gets removed once per battle. This stacks up to 5 times, and for each Blessing of the Wind Spirit that Yuno has, it increases his damage dealt by 10%. And with his Awakening passive on 2 dupes, he gets invulnerability upon gaining Spirit Dive. So every time you use his special skill, he will gain invulnerability for 1 turn. This is really strong, so you would really like to have him on 2 dupes at least. And then you can try to get his special skill as quickly as possible, because then you basically will never die with Yuno. And if you have a max dupe, then the passive changes to when he's gaining Spirit Dive, he gets invulnerability, and the Blessing of the Wind Spirit damage gets increased by another 10%. So instead of Blessing of the Wind Spirit increasing the damage dealt by 10%, it will increase it by 20%, which is really strong. For his skill pages, so his skill page has the active effect that the skill 2 will inflict barrier immunity on an enemy for 2 turns. I'm not sure if it's just a enemy or all enemies, but having barrier immunity is definitely really good, especially on the skill 2 that hits everyone. And the passive effect of his skill page is if Spirit Dive is present on self upon attacking, there is a 20 to 100% chance to grant himself a special points +1 or 3 buff, depending on how high you have the skill page. If you want him to be absolutely cracked, I would say you have to have his skill page on full dupe, because then you will definitely get his special skill back every single turn. If you are using specific team composition that I talked about in my Valkyrie Noelle video, then I don't think that this is too necessary. It is definitely really good to have. It will definitely make it a lot easier, because on full dupe there's a 100% chance of him getting a special point +3 buff after him using his ult. But I think personally, if you have this on like 2 to 3, and you get this one special point after when having Spirit Dive, is also very helpful already, because I know it can be quite difficult to get the skill page on max dupe, especially if you're free to play. So it is definitely making him a lot stronger, but I think you can also live without it. And then for the other options that I could see him using is basically every other skill page that makes his attack stronger. So this dark magic, which increases all attack, and the book that increases attack, or even using Solid's skill page, which increases crit rate and crit damage, as far as I know. So for the talents, for the attack talents, I would go for increased magic attack and battle frenzy. Increased magic attack increases magic attack by 7%, and battle frenzy increasing the crit rate by 2.5% per turn up to 5 times. For the defense talents, I would go with endurance and increased defense increasing defense by 20%, and endurance increasing defense by 4%, and crit resistance by 2% up to 5 times. And for the support talents, I would go with swiftness and increased damage resistance increasing damage resistance by 10%, and swiftness making it so that when he starts the turn with 2 or less special points, he will get 1 special point for free, basically. And for the talent stones, for the attack one, I would go with attack or magic attack. You can also go with crit damage if you need some more, but I feel like flat magic attack is pretty good. But if you need some more crit damage, then that could be good too, since it's also a percentage, and the attack and magic attack is just a flat stat, so that could be better. For defense, I would go with defense, and for support, I would definitely go with speed. And then for Spirit Dive Yuno's usage, like I already said before, how he kind of works around his special skill. One thing that is positive is the invulnerability that he gets through his special skill, and how if you build off of that properly with the right team, he will keep that invulnerability up for most of the time. Another thing is that he has very strong ults, a very strong special skill that deals a lot of damage, and he can give the enemy silence, which basically prohibits them from doing pretty much any other skill than skill 1. He also gives the enemy barrier immunity, which can be really good against barrier teams. And he also reduces mobility and gives himself mobility too. Then he has a couple negative things that are actually also quite strong negatives in my opinion. One is that he's very squishy. I mean, I think that's a valid trade-off for being invulnerable for most of the time. And another thing is that he needs a lot of setup. What I mean by he needs a lot of setup is that you definitely want him to have dupes, you want his skill page to have dupes, and then you also need the other characters for his team to have a bunch of dupes, and to have them be very strong as well. And also he also needs a specific type of team, which can be a little tricky. and another one of the the characters that he has in his team are not super easy to get, because we're gonna get to that in a second. We have one seasonal character and one other anniversary character, and those can be quite hard to get sometimes. So for good pair-ups with Spirit Dive Yuno, our first and best option is definitely gonna be green seasonal Charlotte. Why? Because she will give him more special points with his skill 1, with her skill 1 and skill 2, gives him more defense with her ultimate, and if you have her on 2, she can also give him a barrier, which can be very helpful for making him survive longer. Then we have this green seasonal Mimosa, because she has a very strong heal and a single target heal in case he gets attacked, because like I said, he's very squishy, so he takes a lot of damage from hits, so having a single target heal like that is pretty good. She also gives SB, and she can give him invulnerability in the first turn, which is very strong in case your opponent gets to start first. Then everyone won't die, but this is only if the whole team is green. That's why the last option is Mereoleona, because she gives him more defense, can give him mana skin, so that if he gets attacked, the enemy gets burned. And she could probably also be switched out for another green unit. You could also run Red Thread of Fate Vanessa. She is very, very good for this as well, because she gives special points and Blessing of Protection, which is really, really good. But I think overall it's just really good to have Mario also, because having another damage dealer on the team that can also tank a few hits is pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the pair-ups and the team setup. Now for his overall ranking. In PvP, I would give Yuno 4.5 out of 5 stars, because he is very, very strong, but because he is quite squishy, and he needs a big setup, that's pretty much the only thing that kind of holds him back a bit. Also, I think he probably might not hold off for too much longer, especially if we're gonna get more light and dark characters. I mean, dark characters maybe not that much, but light characters could be a problem for him. Then in PvE, also 4.5 out of 5 stars, pretty much also just because the fact that he is quite squishy, and yeah, sometimes he dies quicker than you would like him to. And so the overall relevance for him, I would say, is also 4.5 out of 5 stars. And that is mostly because of Valkyrie Noelle at the moment, because with her, he has become quite a bit more relevant, I would say, and is probably also gonna stay in the meta for a bit longer. Yeah, just overall, the whole invulnerability thing and having a strong ult makes him really, really, really good in most of the activities in the game, especially when you're playing against blue bosses or blue enemies. He is very, very strong, and that's pretty much it. That's it for Spirit Dive Yuno. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It would mean a lot to me. I try to put a lot of effort into these videos, and if it helped, let me know. If I missed something, please let me know in the comments as well. But that's it, and I hope you stay kind, stay balanced, and keep gaming, and we will see each other in the next guide video. Bye everyone.